Next up in our Big 12 preview is the hometown team. We are in the Cincinnati-based studios here at PFF right now. We're talking about the Cincinnati Bearcats right now. Dalton, it was rough last year for the Bearcats. It was their first year in the Big 12, and actually first year under Scott Satterfield as their head coach, because obviously Luke Fickell left to take the Wisconsin job. 3-9 record. That was their worst record in the 21st century. So really did not take the transition from the Group of Five to the Power Five very well at all. They have a new quarterback in Brendan Sorsby, Indiana transfer, we'll break down in just a second. Bring back their leading rusher and Corey Kiner and their top receiver and Xavier Henderson. They do have some question marks defensively, though, that we'll get into in just a second. But I think the biggest strength of this team, Dolan, is probably the offensive line protecting Brendan Sorsby.
Yeah, and it's a group that graded inside the top 25 last year and has one of the best guards in the country, and Luke Kandra. He's going to be on NFL radars very, very soon. But, yeah, to have an offensive line like this for a team that's probably going to have to play a pretty rugged style of football. You mentioned Corey Kiner. They're going to lean on him a lot. I'll get into Sorsby in a minute being pretty good play-action passer, but that's kind of going to be the strength of this team and where they have to win. They got to play a ball control style, but behind a front five like this, they should be able to do that.
They should, man. And not only were they a top 25 graded unit last year, all 5 starters are back on that offensive line as well. Now, the biggest weakness is going to be an interesting one because they have one player who dominates in this area, but other than him, it's not great. It's the run D. They had the 6th worst run defense grade in the Power 5 last year at 62.4. And, man, if you struggle on run defense and you play in the Big 12, you're in a lot of trouble because of how many teams can run the piss out of the football. It's going to be tougher for Cincinnati. Unfortunately, the guy that would break down Dontay Corleone is healthy. There's kind of a blood clot scare that he had a month ago or so. He's healthy now. He's back on the field for them. But even with him, man, even with the Godfather, we'll talk about in just a second, it's still a questionable unit heading into 2024. But, Dawn, tell me more about Brendan Sorsby, the Indiana transfer, who is now the new quarterback for Cincinnati.
Yeah, he kind of split time last year at Indiana with Taven Jackson, and obviously Indiana struggled, and now they're, had to hire Curt Cignetti to try to fix things. But, no, I mean, he's a pocket passer who, in a ball control offense, you would hope can – he's a very good play-action passer, right? A 79.1 play-action passing grade last year, and that's kind of the bread and butter, right? Doesn't have the biggest arm, doesn't have the most athletic ability. Certainly a tough player. He broke 33 tackles last year. He's not going to hit home runs like that. So I think what you're looking for is kind of like seam routes, over routes, things like that in that 20 to 30-yard range that he can work off play action and get in behind linebackers to make those sorts of throws. So I think with this offensive line and this run game, he could complement them well, but he's not the sort of guy that I would expect to take over games with his arm.
No, but I will say, like I said before, he's got a great offensive line ahead of him. And the star of that unit, like you said before, is Luke Kandra, who followed Scott Satterfield from Louisville over to Cincinnati, was one of the best guards in college football last year. 81.9 grade, was 3rd among Power 5 guards last season. 82.1 run blocking grade, was 2nd among Power 5 guards as well. In fact, he had an 86.1 grade on zone runs, which was 2nd in the Power 5 as well. He was a member of PFF's All Big 12 team following the year. Trevor and Connor on NFL Stock Exchange broke him down in their interior offensive line video. They really like him as an NFL prospect as well. So you got him and Dalton. And we said before how there's some schools who have, guys in practice that you love to watch a practice tape of guys going head to head. Luke Kandra against the Godfather would be elite practice footage to watch, man.
Oh, man, it really would. You talk about Dontay Corleone on the inside. He's one of PFF's favorite players, man. He's just such a strong dude, right? Like he's not too tall, he's not real lengthy, but man, he's just stronger than everybody he plays against, man, over the center, over guards, whatever. And talk about a 92.7 grade over the past 2 seasons, the best of any defensive tackle in the country. He's one of the best run defenders at any position in the country right now. And you mentioned Trevor Sikkema ranking them. He has Dontay Corleone, I think, DT4 heading into the season for next year's draft, which is high praise when you talk about, he was a Group of 5 player. Now their big first season in the Big 12. Corleone is a monster. Like, good luck running between the tackles when he's in there. I think the strategy against Cincinnati has been a lot of get out wide, just get away from him, right? If you try to run in the A-gaps, it's not happening. This dude is a brick wall in the middle, especially when he's lined up right over the center. He's strong as all hell, and he is a problem for any team trying to go in there. If you're going to run on Cincinnati, don't run at big number 0 because it's just not going to happen.
No, and having him is one reason to be a little optimistic about that run D, man, because he is, like I said, he's almost a run defense unto himself with how good he is. And fortunately, like I said before, he had a blood clot scare in his lungs a month ago. We were very nervous about whether or not he'd be able to play this year, but Cincinnati announced that he is back for them. So that's really happy to see the Godfather back out there. The best nickname, I think, in college football, too, is the Godfather for Dontay Corleone. It's the best. Bottom line, Tom, now, Dalton. Obviously, they missed a bowl game last year by a wide margin. They went 3-9. What are you expecting this year? Do you think, can they make a bowl game, or do you think it'll be another year where the Bearcats miss a bowl game?
We have to find out where the points are going to come from, Max. I mean, Brennan Sorsby, look, he's coming in from Indiana, and I get that, but is he that big of an improvement? I know Emory Jones struggled last year, but Sorsby doesn't offer a huge ceiling, right? Okay, we've got Corey Kiner to run the ball in this O-line, but even amongst, even with a good run game, amongst all of the Big 12 run games, I'm not even sure they rank in the top half of that, right? So I don't know. The big thing for me is where the explosive play is coming from, right? Because whether it's running the ball or throwing, you need to create chunk plays, right? Because Sorsby doesn't have the biggest arm, doesn't have a lot of speed. He may not necessarily do that himself. They're really, when you look at their offense, they're going to have to call some perfect games offensively and just find all the right matchups and have somebody emerge as more of a star player that can make big plays, either down the field or in the backfield on the ground. It's tough for me to imagine that their offense can keep up in several games on their schedule.
I agree with that. They do have some key offensive pieces returning, and then offensive line, top rusher, top receiver coming back, but they have to bounce back, man. They had a really disappointing debut in the Big 12, and they want to make a bowl game. I have more concerns, I think, defensively in terms of how they're going to stop the run, get after the quarterback, playing coverage a little bit more, too. So I have some defensive concerns, too. And, man, I struggle looking at their schedule and seeing how they're going to be able to win 6 games. I think they'll be right around that range, maybe 5 or 6 wins, but it's going to be tough for Cincinnati to make a bowl game next year. Right now, I'll say they probably won't make a bowl game. I think they're probably going to finish 5-7, but they certainly have a chance to make a bowl game next year, and they're going to probably have to, or else Scott Satterfield will probably be entering his 3rd season next year on the hot seat if they don't make a bowl game in 2024. But that's what we got for our preview of the hometown Cincinnati Bearcats. Hey, thanks for watching the PFF College Football Show. Before I let you go, though, we have an unbelievable deal for you guys right now. If you use the code CFB25, you get 25% off your PFF Plus annual subscription. We've got the 2024 College Football Preview Guide that you can find over at pff.com, featuring the best players in the country from all 70 Power 5 teams, plus 10 Group of 5 teams that have the best chance at making the college football playoff as well. You can also gain access to NCAA premium stats for historical games, teams, and player tracking dating all the way back to 2014, so the last decade or so of college football. All the stats you can hope for, you can find in PFF Premium as well. Also, you can be the GM of your favorite NFL team with our unbelievable mock draft simulator, where you can draft up to 7 rounds of players for your NFL team. And if you want to dominate your fantasy league, you can do that as well using the best fantasy tools on the planet. All of that and more with your PFF Plus annual subscription, which you can find for 25% off right now with the code you can find in the description. Or if you want to go to subscribe.pff.com and use the code CFB25 at checkout. Again, you get 25% off your PFF Plus subscription. This won't last forever, so make sure you take advantage of it right now.